So, close that door. Thanks, guys. Well, thanks everybody for coming, and I appreciate your time. And so, I just want to address some things that have been flying around in the media, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you guys. And let me say, first and foremost, I love the state police of Pennsylvania. I've always been an admirer and a supporter of the Pennsylvania State Police. They're the best in our country. And I've always supported them when I was a state senator. And in my new job as lieutenant governor, my admiration for them has just grown even more. And then specifically with regard to having the protective detail of the state police in our life, the respect that I have for these brave men and women is enormous. They are members of our family, and we spend more time with them than we do with our regular family. Long hours, sometimes 24/7 with these state troopers. So I appreciate their excellence, their training, but most importantly, the quality of their character as human beings and as people. And I want you to know that as we've gone through this process and we've spent that time, that I'm not a perfect human being, and I've made mistakes, and I, in my life, like a lot of other human beings, I get busy, I get stressed, I get angry, no matter what's going on in my life, and I've said things in anger or stress or frustration that I wished I hadn't said. And I'm glad that I'm familiar with the two magic words, I'm sorry, because I've had to use it a lot in my life. And so it's a fact, right, that I have said things in anger or stress that I wish I hadn't said, and that I wish I could pull back, but I couldn't. And I apologize for all those things that I've ever said. And you know what? I can do better. As a human being, I can do better. And I will do better. And I promise the brave men and women who protect us every day that I'll do better. And so will my wife, Tonya Stack. And let me say this about Tonya. What I love about my wife the most is that I never have to guess what's on her mind. She's going to tell me. And she's that way with most people. She's got something on her mind, she's going to tell you. And I think women across the state, they admire that about her. I think because she stands up for herself. However, she also is a human being. And she also gets stressed and has moments within a 24-hour cycle of the day where she may not be her best person, and she has said things in frustration or anger, and I know she's sorry, and I also know that she is no stranger to the words I'm sorry, and I know how much she loves the state police and how much she respects them, and so it's important that folks know that, and that she's going to do better too. We both are going to do better. We know we can, and we appreciate the chance to do better. One of the other things I want to talk about is with the issue of, how a state police officer, trooper, corporal, or sergeant operates their vehicle. And I know that Tonya understands this and feels the same way as I do. The state trooper is absolutely the boss. They have all the training. They have all the experience. That's what makes them so excellent. And that's why it's such an honor and a privilege to be in their company and to spend time with them and see their professionalism. I want to go back to the point that as a human being, I get stressed like any other human being does. And I have said things in anger.
Could you elaborate, like what?
Let me just continue. So if I've ever said something in anger or frustration, being in a rush or something like that, where a state trooper thought that I was telling them how to drive or how to operate their emergency response procedures, if I ever gave that impression, I was wrong. And I apologize. But one thing I want you to know, as I say, these guys are the boss. They have all the training. They make the decisions. And they should. I shouldn't have the right, and Mrs. Stack shouldn't have the right, and we don't, to tell these folks how to drive. They're going to do what they think is right, and they should. And that's why they're so well trained. So, as I said, we haven't been perfect. We've certainly made mistakes. I always think it's important to own up to that. And so that's one aspect I wanted to tell you about. Another thing, you know, I've been in public service and politics for a lot of years. I've won elections and I've lost elections. I've had to go through that challenge of sometimes being in the public eye all the time. And I will say that in this job, it's been more so that you're in the public eye more. You have people around you. You have state workers around you. And I've always been a huge supporter of our great public employees. I've always stood up for working people, have total respect for the hard job that they do. And Mrs. Stack and I, we reside at the State House. We don't take that for granted. It is a unique honor, and we're reminded of that honor every day. And anyone who has ever worked at the residence to help us do their job, we appreciate everything that they've done. Let's go back to, you know, sometimes you live in a fishbowl, and it's hard to do it 24 hours a day. And people in politics have to get used to that. But I submit, it's really impossible to do it all the time if somebody, if you're not used to people always being around you. So I think particularly for my wife, and you know, being the woman of the household, and even though it's a splendid, wonderful residence, the State House where the Lieutenant Governor resides, it's all those things. At the end of the day, it's also where we live. And so we're not always perfect when we're under the roof where we live. And so both Mrs. Stack and I, once again, have said things through the stresses of life, whether it's a sick family member or other things that folks go through on a daily basis, that we wish we had not said. And that, you know, it's a case of these folks are like our family, and you say things around your family that you wouldn't necessarily say to anybody else in the world. And you're always grateful for your family because, you know, they're stuck with you, right? So you can say things, and one way or another, you're going to have to see them at Thanksgiving, so they have no choice but to forgive you. So that's something that doesn't make it right. And so I'm sure we've said things in anger or frustration or stress that we shouldn't have said, and both of us are deeply sorry for offending anybody. And we are going to make it up to everybody because we feel we can do better. And, you know, people in public life, public officials, they have a higher standard, and they should. And we can meet that higher standard, and we will. So I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about a few of these points, and I just thought it was important to get that out there.
What did you say that you're apologizing for? You haven't said anything except if anyone was offended. What did you say that you feel was wrong?
I'm sure as a human being that giving any number of days in my life that I've said things in anger, and that I've said things that I wish I hadn't said. throughout my life.
But in this case, in this investigation, have you been confronted with anything? Do you remember anything? Is this all a mystery to you?
Any person who goes through life and gets stressed, I think, will say things that they don't mean, and they say things out of anger, and I'm no exception. And that's not an excuse. That's not that's not a reason that's acceptable. The bottom line is, I know that I've said things in anger that I wish I could take back, and that I didn't mean, and I continue to say I know I'm not perfect, but I can be better, and I should be better, and so I'm just sorry that I've said things that have hurt people's
Mike,
feelings.
it's fairly unusual for a governor to order such an investigation. What's your reaction to the fact the governor ordered the inspector general to look into the behavior?
You know, Dennis, I sort of don't want to even analyze that. I think I see it more like an opportunity to correct things that can be corrected, and you know, I think it's important to correct them. I think I have a very strong affection for the people of Pennsylvania. I mean, I'd be crazy to be in this job to run for public office if I didn't like people and respect people and believe that they should be respected. So I really just see it as an opportunity to you know, shed some light on some things where we need to do better, and in fact correct those situations and do better as we go forward.
Have you and the governor spoken about this?
I'll get you in a second, Karen. Tony, we have not, and I think the important thing is that this is an opportunity to talk about things where it's fine to be a human being, but at the end of the day, you know, you have to be better, and I have to be better, and so does Tonya, and so I think, you know, I just welcome it as an opportunity to improve.
In an effort to move forward and improve, will you release the report when you get a copy of it?
That's, Brad, I think that's not really Karen, I'll be right over. It's really not a decision for me, and so I'm comfortable with, it's not a decision for me. Once again, you know, I want to just come back to what it is for me and for Tonya is an opportunity to improve and to continue to demonstrate to the people of Pennsylvania how much we respect them, to demonstrate to the state police and state workers our great affection and appreciation for them, and to have an opportunity and the high honor to serve the people of Pennsylvania in this very important job, which is an honor. Karen.
Lieutenant Governor, don't you think that the public ought to know what an external review finds about this situation, so that what you're saying can be validated or additional information can be added to it?
You know, Karen, I think it's sort of above my pay grade. I think that you know, we're going to get to at some point where we're going to be at a conclusion, and obviously, you know, it's a good opportunity to review, you know, how we do things and how we conduct business, and for me, I think I take it as a positive thing. I get a chance to be a better person, a better lieutenant governor, and I'm always looking for opportunities to further build my relationships with people. And I've found, you know, one of the things I love about the business of politics and public service is you have rocky moments like this, and then you get a chance to meet people and talk to them about things you may not have met or talked to them about, and you can build a relationship from there. So I just see it as an opportunity to build better relationships.
Governor, have you apologized to the affected employees personally?
Oh, well, I'm
and just one more.
Oh, sure.
And you saying you're going to be better. In what way, and how will you demonstrate that?
Well, I think, you know, the greatest thing that any human being can have is like restraint of pen and tongue. And I remember hearing that notion growing up about restraint of pen and tongue, and it means sometimes you want to say things, or you might want to write something to somebody, or a letter, where you feel one way about it, and you really are positive that how you feel is the right way. so you say it or you write it and you react, and then it turns out, you acted rashly and said things like, as I've done, that I didn't feel, I didn't mean, and were wrong. And so I think it's just a chance to exercise more restraint. Say, I know a little bit about discipline because I served in the Army pretty recently as an officer. And I know sometimes, if you can think it and not say it. And so got to be better at, as I say, not just speaking off the cuff when I'm frustrated or angry, and maybe count to 3 as your mom and dad always tell you to do. Count to 3 or maybe 10.
You keep characterizing it as speaking under stress, saying things you wish you had. Would you characterize the way things you said to these people as abusive?
No, I would, but I would say that it's not acceptable to, just because I'm under stress, to say things. And I think, everybody deserves respect. And it goes back to that family issue, that you say things in a family setting when people are around you all the time and they're your loved ones. And so literally you could say something to your sister or your brother, and they're one way or another they're gonna have to forgive you. And just because you're around people all the time and you're going through challenges in life doesn't mean that they are your brother or your sister. And so I have to do better. Tonya has to do better at just making sure that exercise a little restraint of think before speaking. But the bottom line is, I really think that this is something that we can do, and we're both sorry for hurting feelings and speaking in anger.
Have you specifically said things to state troopers that you feel are inappropriate or offensive?
It just goes back to
Specifically to state troopers, though, have you?
Well, I have such enormous respect for them.
But have you said things to them that you feel are inappropriate or offensive?
I have such high regard that I know that as a human being, I've still said things that I wish I hadn't said.
Specifically to state troopers?
Well, if I'm with the protective detail, sometimes for really long periods of time, and for day after day after day. And I think anybody who knows me, who has spent time with me for a long period of time, knows that here and there I'll have a stack moment. And anybody who drives with me, and I'll tell you, I just got to go back to how much I appreciate state troopers' professionalism and training, and their skill and their dedication. But anytime I'm with somebody for that amount of time, there's a chance they're going to see the best of Mike Stack, the absolute best, and then they probably could see the worst. And so that's I'm sure that they've seen the best and the worst of me.
You don't control your actions. Do you think you or your wife have an anger problem?
I would say we have a human problem, and I would say that human beings snap out sometimes, say things that they don't mean, and I'm no exception, and neither is Tonya. And so it's it's not an excuse to say there's an adjustment in doing this kind of work, and it comes with the territory, and it's something that I welcome, and that she welcomes and accepts, and it's not to be lost sight of. It is an enormous honor and privilege to do this job, and anyone from our great state who had the opportunity to do it would be so honored, and each and every day is a gift, and that's the bottom line.
Will you be running for re-election?
Will
you be running for re-election?
Did you ask any of your drivers to speed or run the sirens or do things that are appropriate?
Tony, here's what I would say to that. As I say, the folks the state troopers who are driving that vehicle, they're the captain of the ship. They're the absolute captain of the ship. I'm not even the co-pilot. They have all the training, they have all the skill, they are absolutely in charge. And that is a fact and it's B, something that I accept as absolutely
So you never
the
asked
way
them
it
to
should
speed
be.
or run the sirens?
Tony, here's what I would say. I'd say that if I ever gave that impression, because I was in a hurry, or I said something where, like I said, we got to get there, hurry it up, or something like that, and they drew a conclusion that that's what I wanted, I apologize for that, because that's wrong.
That's not his question.
But I'm still in the process of answering. That's wrong. That would be wrong, Tony. At the end of the day, though, one thing I do know about the state police, they're so highly trained and they're so skilled. No matter what I say, they're going to do what they think is the appropriate thing to do. They should. I would fight for their right to. That's the way they're supposed to operate their duties in their vehicles, and I know they will.
Did you or your wife ever speak angrily, yell, or swear at any state police for not turning on the sirens, for not speeding, or doing whatever you wanted done?
No.
Never.
No, but once again, if I ever gave the impression that I was in such a hurry, that we really have to get there, and if I ever gave the impression that I wanted them to do that, or that they felt the pressure to do that, if I ever did, I was wrong, and I apologize for that, and that would never happen again.
But there's a
You
difference
never
between
said
an
turn on the
impression
lights
and
and
telling
stuff.
somebody to go faster, or did you ever ask them to go beyond where they wanted to go? Part one. And part two is, were you behind a move last year to get into the fiscal code an allowance for dignitaries such as yourself to supersede the vehicle code?
That's two different questions,
All right.
Dennis. What was the first one again?
Did you ever directly say, we got to go faster, put on lights and sirens in a situation in which they otherwise wouldn't?
I cannot think of a moment, Dennis, where I ever did. But let me go back to the point. If I ever gave the impression that that's what I wanted them to do, if somehow that's the message that came through, I was wrong, and they shouldn't, and I know they wouldn't. I know they wouldn't, because they're so well trained, and they're going to do what they think is correct and right, and that's how they keep you safe and protected, and that's how we've been able to cover thousands of miles around Pennsylvania to meet so many people. On that other question, I know that former lieutenant governors and Senator Scarnati, I know that Senator Rafferty, folks who would do anything they could where the state police were trying to get things done that enable them to serve the people of Pennsylvania, that they would do it. And I'm aware that amendment was coming through last year. When people have asked me if I would support that, I said certainly I would support it. I know other people have supported it. The other thing is, I'm lieutenant governor. I love to be a state senator, but I really like this job more. However, there are times when I wish I could offer amendments and do legislation, but I can't because I'm lieutenant governor. So that's
Will you
what
be
that
running
is.
for re-election?
Yes.
Governor, did you, have you consulted with or retained outside counsel in relation to this investigation?
No, John. I'm a lawyer by training, and I have probably too many friends that are lawyers. My mother's a lawyer. She's a former judge. My dad was a lawyer. So I bump into lawyers in my personal life all the time. I do talk to friends who happen to be lawyers, and I meet a lot of people who aren't lawyers and have legal opinions. But no, I haven't retained anybody, or I'm not currently being advised on this.
Will you
Are
speak
you
to-
speaking with the Inspector
I thought
General?
that OIG was primarily concerned with issues of waste and fraud. Is the investigation looking into your spending?
No,
So,
as far as I know.
as far as you know, is
Yeah.
this OIG investigation only about you and your wife saying things in anger to state employees?
Karen, I don't I don't have the information about all the things. Sadly, I continue to, I sometimes get my information from all of you guys, but I don't have any information other than it's about the way that Mrs. Stack and I interact with the state police and other state employees at the state house, but that's all I've heard.
Will you
Would
agree to be
OIG
interviewed?
do an investigation just about that?
What's that, Karen?
Would OIG do an investigation just about that, about how you talk to them?
Oh, I don't know.
How do you feel about the idea that they may be investigating that? Do you think your behavior rises to the level of an OIG investigation?
Tony, I've done this long enough that I try to, it's not in my interest to have an opinion about that particular thing. I just want to go back to the point where it's neither, it's not here or there. It's an opportunity to do better. And there's no need to talk about why. The bottom line is, it's about respect and affection for people, and I certainly have it, and so does my wife, and we want to demonstrate it better, and it's just, I see it as just an opportunity to do better.
Will you meet with the OIG? Have they asked to meet with you, and have you thus far not met with them, and are you willing to talk to them?
They haven't asked Dennis. I'll talk to anybody who wants to talk.
Have you talked to the governor?
I talked to the governor last time was a few weeks ago. He's very busy. I'm very busy. I've done maybe 20 or 22 Pathway to Pardons events, which take me all over the state. And so I'm traveling a lot, and when I'm not, I'm presiding over the Senate and doing other things. As far as how we've done together on that particular issue, we've worked very well on the Pathway to Pardons. The governor has approved about 99.9% of the cases that we've sent him for pardon or commutation. And in the past, he's told me that he thinks that we're doing a great job on that issue. So that's just one issue where we're right in sync. But listen, this is the way it is in government. You know, he's busy, I'm busy, and so it's not like we've ever talked around the clock or meet daily. The way the relationship has always worked is, you know, he goes and does the things that he thinks are important, and he's doing great things on public education and on the opioid crisis and on creating a better environment here for jobs. And I'm working on the 590 hearings, which dovetail into the opioid crisis. So the issues that are important to both of us and that the governor's leading the Commonwealth on, we're both working on.
Does it surprise you?
Apologize, and you said you've spoken intemperately, but you haven't said anything specifically that you or your wife did or said that was wrong. Am I wrong? Can you say anything specifically that you did or said, or your wife did or said, that is wrong, besides may have given them the impression they should speed, may have spoken intemperately? Something you said. We must have some idea what this is about.
All I can tell you is, if you go through a day with me, or you go through a week with me, you're going to find something about my personality or the way that I react in life that is not ideal or perfect. So I will guarantee you this: at some point, more than once, I've said things that I didn't mean, or I reacted in a way that I didn't want to react and shouldn't have. And so
some examples.
That's it.
One example.
I can tell you there's it's a fact that it's either through something I say or what I've done, and it's the usual things. It's the usual things. But no, I'm not.
Does it surprise you? Does it surprise you that Governor Wolf didn't talk to you before he requested the Inspector General to conduct an investigation?
Jan, I want to go back to this point. That's not really important. The important thing is, we have some issues that need to be addressed, and I'm a big boy and a grown man, and I'm a leader, and so I know I need to do better. And I said this before here. I'm a human being. I make mistakes. Sometimes I wish I could do things over, and I can't.
Is it a fair characterization for you to say that you at some point berated staff members for performance that you felt was inadequate or not to your satisfaction?
No, I don't think that's accurate. But what I will say is, I've not been always perfect, and I've not always said what I should have said, and there have been times where I've said things in haste or anger or fear or stress or any number of things, or whether somebody in my family was sick or I was upset or I felt slighted, any number of things where I think I said things in anger or I said things that I shouldn't have, and I know I've done that as a human being, and as a human being, you make mistakes, but a better human being, when they make mistakes, they don't do it over and over again. They get better and they improve, and I've always done that in my life. Because I've been in politics a long time, I've made mistakes, and usually when I make a mistake, it's not in isolation. I get a chance to be in public and talk about that mistake. I think most people in life probably don't want to, when they make mistakes, they don't want to have a bunch of people with cameras and microphones come and see them. But you know, the bottom line is, I can improve, and I think I will improve, and I think we just are grateful to the opportunity to serve, and I really hope that we can focus soon on doing the things to serve the people of Pennsylvania to make this the greatest state that it can be.
I'm sorry. That's all the time we have for questions. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Thanks, guys.
Do you see any impact in the 2018 election, like somebody running against you out of the blue? Or?
All I can do, Brad, is my job. And I know I'm a hard-working lieutenant governor. I venture to say that there's no one who's worked harder as a lieutenant governor of this state than me. And we've accomplished a lot of great things. You know, we're working to give people second chances through Pathway to Pardons, and that's going to be a national framework on giving folks who've made mistakes in the past an actual chance at a successful life. And I don't think anyone's addressed that particular issue in the past. Certainly not lieutenant governors, or the impact that we've had. And I'm doing it with Governor Wolf. And so that alone is a very important thing, and all I can ever do in elections, I've been in a lot of elections. The first 3 elections I was in, I lost. And you always learn through the pain of losing an election, but I've won all my elections since then. It was my first statewide election when I won for lieutenant governor. We got a lot of votes, and a lot of people in Pennsylvania have honored me with faith and trust. And so I have a duty to all those folks to continue to work hard for them. And all I can control is how hard I work. And so if all I have to measure my success is how hard I work, I know I'm going to be successful.
Hey, if Governor Wolf selected a different person to run for and endorsed a different person for lieutenant governor in 2018, would that impact your plans to seek re-election?
Well, put it this way: when we both got elected in the last election, we both ran independently. Lieutenant governor's an independent office, and you know, so we both ran separate primaries. We agree on a lot of issues, but not all issues. So my campaign was a little different than Governor Wolf's. Governor Wolf was running against his opponents, and I was running against my opponent. So, you know, I believe that I'm doing I'm working hard and doing a good job for the people of Pennsylvania. So any of those other aspects are outside of my control. All I can do is keep working hard for the people of Pennsylvania. And I think actions speak louder than words. And I think we're much better as a unified team. I have confidence that both of us are going to run strong campaigns, and both of us are going to be reelected, and we're going to continue to build our relationship with each other and the people of Pennsylvania in a very positive way.
But to that point, can you still have a unified team with Governor Wolf when he has appointed the Office of Inspector General in your direction?
Charlie, the bottom line is, I just want to go back to the point. This is an opportunity to do better with how I conduct my business, and you know, I've shown that I'm a hard worker and can get a lot of things accomplished for the people of Pennsylvania. Now I just need to do better in how I conduct myself and exercising restraint of pen and tongue, and being a better person, and I think I can do that, and that's all I see this as an opportunity to do that.
I just got one more. If you, when did you receive the notice of the OIG investigation, and when you got it, saying that you hadn't had conversations with anybody about this before, did you feel ambushed?
I've been in politics for a lot of years, and I think you just get better and better at acceptance. And whenever somebody tells you in life you got to get to acceptance, it's not usually because your things are going great. So I always accept that, because it's such a privilege to serve the people of Pennsylvania, to have this opportunity to be here, to lead, to be involved in issues that really make a difference in people's lives, that's such a high privilege that if here and there are things that are frustrating or disappointing or hurt my feelings or give me pause or concern, if that's all I have to deal with, that's fine, because the benefits and the privilege of serving this job is so much greater than any of those other things that might be frustrating. That's all we got, guys.
When did you get the letter?
Thank you very much.
I think.
Yeah,
when
that
did
was-
you receive the letter?
I don't know. I think it was a couple days ago.
Earlier this week?
Yeah.
Monday?
Yeah, I think so.
What did it say?
No more questions.
I-
I'm taking no more questions.
I think it said sort of the obvious. But thanks, guys. I really appreciate it, and it's a beautiful day, and I'm gonna exit out this way. So thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate your time. Thank you.